So for you to perform financial statement analysis, you need information, and one of the key sources of information is financial statement. So before you use financial statement data, you should know that how are these financial statements actually prepared. Because until and unless you know how are they prepared, you wouldn't know what can impact financial statement, and so you wouldn't know what can impact your analysis. Because if these changes, financial statement analysis will change, and when how would these changes, for you to understand what can cause a change in financial statement, you need to know how are they prepared. So this reading only gives you an introduction about how are financial statements prepared, or what are financial reporting mechanics. So first of all, even before you prepare a financial statement, first of all, there needs to be a business. There needs to be some activity which will be recorded in the statement. That activity which is being done, if there is no activity, there will be no financial statement. There wouldn't be any data. The activity which is being done can be classified into three categories: operating, investing, and financing. So remember, operating activity is any activity related to core business operations. And what is the core business operation? Core business operation is buying or selling a product. So buying a product, buying raw material, buying packaging material, selling a product, manufacturing product, um, uh, uh, giving credit to the customers, paying suppliers late, all that is a part of operating activity. Anything which is related to core operation. In order for you to actually operate a business, you need to make some investment. For example, you may need to buy a machine, you may need to buy a office, or any other investment. So those activities which are related to investing into an asset or selling an asset, that is primarily buying an asset or selling an asset, they are known as investment activities. For example, if I buy a machine, or for example, if I sell a machine, or for example, if I invest into a bond, or for example, if I invest into a T-bill, all that are part of investment activities. And then financing. For you to invest, for you to do operations, you need to invest, and for you to invest, you need money. So where does that money come from? That money comes from either from debt or from equity. So any changes in debt or equity goes to is a financing activity. So for example, if owner puts in capital, that is financing activity. If owner takes out capital through share repurchases or through any other means, that is financing activity. If company takes loan, that is that is financing activity. If company pays back loan, that is financing activity. So each of these categories can either have a positive cash flow or negative cash flow. So this does not mean a cash flow would be positive or negative. It only tells you the nature of the activity, that what is the activity actually. So once an activity has happened, then you record it. And how do you record it? You record it in a way that this equation remain intact: asset equals to liability plus equity. So when you have to record it, you record it using a journal, using an entry, or first of all you record it in a register, for example. So for example, you bought raw material for $100. So you record it in register. Raw material purchases, you will have a raw material purchases register. In that you will record raw material purchase for $100. So you will continue to record all the activities, all the purchases, all the sales, all the credit, everything. So you will continue to record all the entries, or all the what all the transactions in primary books. So these registers in which you are recording the transaction are known as primary books. Once you have recorded in it, then you will need to do its accounting. That is, you need to record it as a debit or credit. So then you move on to journal entries. In journal entries, you make a journal in which you list down all the debits and all the credit. So for example, here I recorded in the book, I recorded raw material purchase for $100 cash. So I will now record it in journal, that is raw material debit, cash credit by $100, and so on. And so I will continue to record all the transactions. So all those transactions, all those activities which were recorded in primary books will now be recorded in journal in terms of debits and credit. This general journal is the list of all the entries or all the transactions with respect to their debit and credit values. Any problem so far? Now the question is that how do you debit or how do you credit? So asset going up is debit, liability going up is credit, equity going up is credit. This is with respect to asset, liability and equity. Expenses going up is debit, income going up is credit. Sales ROSO and income revenue, so revenue goes up, you credit it. Cost of goods sold are expense, so expense goes up, you debit it. Any problem so far? So this is simple accounting. So then you record debits and credit using these method. But before we go into it, just another point to mention: assets equal liability plus equity. What is equity? Equity is capital contributed by owner plus the earnings that were made by the company and were retained by the company. If company generates net income, who does it belong to? It belongs to equity. If company generates net income, it belongs to equity. From this net income, it may pay out some dividends, and after dividend, the remaining net income belongs to equity or the owner, and that remaining net income is known as retained earnings. So retained earnings and contributed capital, these are the two major parts of owner's equity. Now, what are ending retained earnings? How do you calculate ending retained earnings? There will be some beginning balance of retained earnings. Then you generate income, so you add income. From this income, maybe you paid out some dividend, so you subtract dividend, and when you subtract dividend, you arrive at ending retained earnings. Or I can further break it down and I can say net income is plus revenue minus expenses. So this is how you arrive at this breakup. So as long as you know asset equals liability plus owner's equity, you should be able to go deeper into this. So that means if any of these changes, assets will change. Recording transaction, there are only some examples. I don't think there is a need to go into details and do all the accounting examples. As long as you know accounting, you should be able to do what you are asked for. Set up a $100,000 investment account and purchase a portfolio of equities and fixed income securities. You are purchasing equity and fixed income securities. These securities are assets. So when you purchase them, your asset debit. Why? Because asset is increasing, so it debits. And what is the name of asset? The name of asset is investments. And how do you make that investment? For making that investment, you use cash. When you use cash, your cash decrease, and so cash decrease in asset is credited. Pay $3,000 to landlord for office warehouse. When you pay it, it is a cash, and decrease in cash is credited. 2,000 represents refundable deposit and 1,000 represent first month rent. 1,000 is rent, which is an expense, so expense increase is debited. 2,000 is refundable deposit, means that you have given your money, but in future you will receive back this money. And if there is any activity from which, or if there is any resource from which a benefit is expected in future, or which is expected to be returned in future, that is an asset. So this refundable deposit is actually an asset. 2,000 represents and 1,000 represent first month's rent. This is a refundable deposit is asset. This was 3,000 and this is 1,000, 2,000. Okay. Now if I tell you that this is last month's rent or this month's rent, it is an expense. If I tell you that this is the rent for next month, you are paying it in advance. So if you are paying it in advance, again it is an asset. Why? Because in future a benefit will flow to you from this investment. You will be able to use the building in future or use the warehouse in future, which is a benefit. So if it is this payment is for the current period which has passed, then it is expense. Otherwise, if it is for the future period, then it is prepaid rent or prepayment. In both the scenarios, it will be a debit. Purchase office equipment for 6,000 in cash. When you purchase it in cash, cash credit by 6,000 and equipment debit by 6,000. It has an estimated life of 2 years with no salvage value. If it has estimated life of 2 years with no salvage value, that means in 2 years it will go to 0. So that means depreciation per year will be 3,000. So if you record depreciation, then next after the completion of year, depreciation expense will be debited and provision for depreciation will be credited. And then when you move it, it will be depreciation expense credit, P&L debit, and so on. So this is how you record it. Once you have recorded all the transactions in journal, journal as journal entries, then you move them to general ledger or in to T accounts. That is, you make a T account or you make an account for every head. So for example, for account receivable, for account payable, and so on. And then you move it to these accounts. So there will be a debit balance, there will be a credit, there will be debit entry, there will be credit entry. Balance for all the assets will be debit. Balance for all the payables will be credit. So when you go to next year, you find out beginning balance, it will be a credit balance and it will be a debit balance. For all assets will have debit balance, all liabilities will have credit balance, and equity will have credit balance. Now assets have a debit balance and liabilities have a credit balance. If asset has a debit balance, that means the carried down value will be on credit side, because if you have a credit down here, that will be carried down as debit to next period. And if a liability has a credit balance, carried down value will be here and it will go here. These carried downs are reported in balance sheet. So balance sheet is just a sheet which reports all the carried downs of the assets and liability. Any value on balance sheet is the carried down value of that particular T account. Any problem so far? So this is for asset and liability. Let's say there is an expense. So when you do expense, you debit it. Now you have debited it. Should it have credit balance in next period? So if you have debited it, will it have a credit balance in next period? How should we treat expense? So when you record expense, for example, $100 was expense. So I have recorded a $100 debit. Now what do I further do to the T account at the end of period? So when I close the accounts, when I end the period, what do I do to it? Should I take it as credit carried down to next period? No. Why? So how do I remove it, or how do I balance it off or close this account? So in order to close this account, what you do is that you pass this amount from T account to P&L. P&L itself is an account. The profit and loss statement is itself an account. So you will credit it here and you will debit it in P&L. So all the expenses will be credited and debited to P&L, and all the incomes will be debited and credited to P&L. So you will have a list of debits in P&L, list of credits, and the net income will be the balance on the credit side. The new balance on the credit side would be the P&L. So this is how you make the interest. And then once you have net income in P&L account, then you take that net income to balance sheet through retained earnings. So retained earnings credit, net income debit, or P&L debit by net income. So this is how this cycle flows. Remember, all the expense and income accounts will be closed every period. Once the period ends, all the expense and income accounts will be closed. And when they are closed, they are taken to P&L. And when P&L is closed, P&L value is taken to balance sheet. This is how it flows. So first you have an activity or transaction. then you record that transaction in primary book, then you move it to journal, then you move it to T accounts, and from T accounts you then close down all the accounts. So all the assets are taken to balance sheet, all the liabilities are taken to balance sheet, all the expense and income are taken to P&L, and then P&L is eventually taken to balance sheet. So P&L will only be for a specific period. After that period it will be closed. So P&L for 2018 will be only the P&L for 2018. After that it is closed. Balance sheet will be the whole position at that particular point of time or at that particular day. So P&L will tell you the performance over a period, and balance sheet will tell you the position at a specific date. This is how this whole cycle flows. So remember the cycle, because this is very important in analysis, so that you know that how any transaction can actually impact your valuation or your financial statement. And until and unless you know this cycle, you wouldn't be able to find out any manipulations in the accounting. Until and unless you know this cycle, that how does it work. So accrual and valuation adjustment, next topic. The general principle for valuation accrual is that revenues are recorded when earned and expenses are recorded when incurred. So for example, if I have incurred a rent for this month, it should be recorded in this month's P&L, no matter if I pay it or not. So any expense or revenue for the period should be recorded in that particular period's P&L. So that no matter if I pay it or not. So now there can be two cases. One is, let's say that I have an expense. Now either I paid for it. So if I paid for it, expense debit, cash credit, simple entry. Or I did not pay for it. I accrued it. That means expense debit, but I did not pay. If I did not pay, cash will not be credited. So if cash is not credited, what is it? It is a current liability or any other liability. So accrued expenses credited. That is, there is a liability to pay in future, as I haven't paid it. So you accrue it. If you accrue it, that becomes a liability. Or there can be another case that you, for example, you haven't incurred an expense, but you are paying in advance for next month or next period. If you are paying it in advance, then your cash is credited. Cash credited, and expense cannot be debited. Why? Because expense has not been incurred as yet. So if cash has been credited and you have paid in advance, then what is it? It is an asset, because due to this payment you will get some services in future. So prepaid rent or prepaid expense debited. And if it is prepaid, that is a asset. So these can be the three cases. First is the simplest one, otherwise accrued or prepaid. P&L will always take this expense. Balance sheet will adjust for accrual or prepayment. So there can be prepaid expense, there can be accrued expense. Accrued expenses liability, prepaid expenses asset. Similarly for income, again you can have accrued income or unearned income. So if let's say you have had an income or revenue and you received cash for it, then simply entry will be cash debit, income credit. Another case can be that you did not receive cash, that your buyer has accrued it or your payer has accrued it. So when you accrue it, income has been earned already, but cash has not been received. So if cash is not received, what is it? It is an accrued income. So accrued income is an asset. Why? Because this is something for which you will receive money in future. A benefit will flow to you in future, or you may have received in advance. So if you haven't had the income yet, but you have received cash, so cash debit, but you haven't had the income yet. So if income has not been earned yet, if you have received cash in advance, then this is unearned income or unearned revenue. This is a liability. So remember, unearned revenue is a liability, accrued revenue is asset, prepaid expense is asset, accrued expense is liability. Any confusion so far? So when you buy an asset, how do you record it? You record it by debiting asset on the balance sheet, or sorry, by debiting the asset account. and so you record it on balance sheet. At what amount do you record it on balance sheet? You record it on balance sheet at cost. So the cost that you pay at the time of buying it is the cost at which it is recorded on balance sheet. So for example, if I bought a piece of land for $10,000, I will record it on balance sheet at $10,000 as asset. Now let's say 1 year has passed, it will remain be 10,000. Now 2 years have passed, if it is not being depreciated, it will remain be 10,000. 3 years, 5 years. Let's say 5 years have passed and it has remained be 10,000 as it is not being depreciated. But if I go to market, maybe its value in market is 13,000. So if I revalue it on balance sheet to 13,000, that is increase its value and record it at market value, that is known as revaluation. And if I am revaluing it, I am increasing an asset. If I increase an asset, I debit it. So what do I credit? This is a benefit to me, but this benefit cannot go, this is a benefit to me, but this benefit cannot go to income statement. Why? Because this is not an income which I am making. So where do it go? It goes to revaluation reserve in terms of equity. Revaluation reserve is a part of equity. Anything which is impacting equity but not impacting income statement, that is still a part of equity. So how do you record it? You record it in terms of reserve. So remember, a debit should be equal with credit. Should be very careful about what all statements or what all numbers are being impacted by any uh, transaction or any particular activity. Revaluation reserve is in balance sheet in equity part. So if you have increased asset, you cannot increase asset until and unless you credit something. So a debit has to be matched by a credit. Otherwise, you do not debit asset either. Market value decrease hogi, so then you will write it down. That that how do we write up, how do we write down? There are some standards which need to be followed there, that will come in later readings. For now, remember, if you are evaluating something, then you debit asset and credit evaluation reserve. Okay, moving on. Business, another example, business activity. Hire a part-time clerk. The clerk is hired through an agency that also handles all payroll taxes. Company is to pay $15 per hour to the agency. Clerk works 6 hours prior to 31st January, but no cash will be paid until February. So that means the clerk works 6 hours prior to 31st January, but no cash will be paid until February. That means you have incurred the expense, you have received the services, or you have incurred the expense in January for 6 hours. And so total expense will be 6 into 15 because per hour rate is 15. So that means you have incurred an expense of $90. So it is debited. What do you credit? You should credit cash, but here you are told you haven't paid cash. If you haven't paid cash, you will pay it in future. If you have to pay something in future, it is a liability. Accrued expense. Credit. Mail out the first month's newsletter to customer. This subscription has been sold on 3rd January. So you will mail out the newsletter, or you will give the newsletter in future. That is maybe at the end of month or during the month, whatever. But you have received the fee, subscription fee in advance. So if you have received a fee in advance, that is unearned revenue. That is again a liability. So when you sell it, your revenue will be credited. So when at a start you provide subscription, when you provide subscription, you get cash. So your cash is debited. And for this cash, you haven't made a sale. You will make a sale in future. So that means it is a liability on you. So your unearned revenue credited. Then when you actually issue the paper or actually make the sale, then your liability has decreased. Why? Because you had to make a sale, now you have made it. So unearned revenue debited, and you have made a sale, so revenue credited. This is how it will work or flow through statement. Once you have recorded it, then you take it to T accounts. Once you have the T accounts, then you make the trial balance. What is trial balance? Trial balance is simply list of all debits and all credits. So if you list down all debit and credit, that is trial balance. And why do you make it? It is to check if all the debits have been knocked against credit or not. So trial balance should, debit and credit amount should equal, and the difference should be 0. If it does not match, that means there have been some error in the accounting or in the recording. Once you have trial balance, then you make financial statement. So you pick up the respective items, you make income statement, then you make balance sheet. Using income statement and balance sheet, you make cash flow statement. So this is how this whole cycle flows to give you financial statement. So any error being made at any stage or any manipulation being done at any stage would cause your financial statements to be distorted. So you as an analyst should be able to find out misrepresentation. So your job is to find out misrepresentation or manipulation in the accounting, or decide whether accounting financial statements are in their accurate form or not. So using financial statements in security analysis, we have discussed that footnotes and management discussion and analysis are important to analyze policies and estimates. So for example, you may see depreciation on the income statement, but you cannot predict future depreciation until and unless you know that what are the assumptions of this depreciation. What is the assumption of useful life? What is the method being used to calculate depreciation? And for that you will have to look at the notes to the financial statements or notes in the annual reports. So that means notes are very important to analyze it. Secondly, if you think that company has a specific debt to equity ratio, for example 50%, you wouldn't know if this will increase in future or decrease in future until and unless you know what are management's plans for future, expansion plans, capex plans, or whatever. Or let's say capex was 100 million last year. You do not know when the next capex would happen until and unless you know management's expansion plans. Is management planning to pace up expansion? If yes, then there will be more capex. Is management planning to slow down expansion? If yes, then capex will be lower in future. Misrepresentation, that you should be able to find out if there is any misrepresentation. So for example, sometimes all debits and credits will be equal, but still there will be some manipulation. So for example, if there is an expert accountant or if there is a sharp accountant, he may record a revenue, additional revenue, fictitious revenue without it happening, and in order to knock it off against a credit, he may record a fictitious asset. So you should be able to identify any such thing. You should find out whether whether any recording or any change is as per the trend or not. Even if anything is against the trend, then you should go and find out its reason. If you get a reason, that's good. If you do not get a reason, that means there is a problem. So for example, if revenues are going up, income is going up, but cash is not going up, or cash from operations is going down, then there might be a manipulation in the accounting. Maybe some revenues are being recorded which are not actually revenues, which are not converting into cash. So there might be a delay in collection. But if continues to happen and cash continues to go, eventually you will collect at some point of time, right? So there will be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. If that trend is not being shown, if there is a major problem with cash, that means there might be some disalignment. Or you will find a reason. Maybe you find a reason that credit days have been increased, or whatever the reason is. If you have found the reason, then that is good enough. If you do not find a reason, then that means there is a problem. So that is just one example. There can be many cases. So if anything on financial statements is changing against the trend, if anything changes against the trend, question it and find out the reason. If you find out the reason, that's good. If you do not find out the reason, there might be a problem. So remember, if anything changes against the trend, find out the reason, because there might be some accounting changes. So this is a fictitious asset and be created, keep the accounting equation in balance. So if he records a revenue and if he records also an asset, accounting equation will remain be in balance. So you should check for one account on another account. If revenues are increasing, you should find out whether debtors are actually increasing or not at the same pace. If not, then find out the reason. If revenues are increasing and debtors have suddenly decreased, then you should find out if has been a change in the policy or not, or what has actually happened. So this is about financial uh, reporting mechanics, that how are financial statements actually prepared or used in security analysis.